Evangelos Marinakis has certainly built up a reputation for himself over his 8 years of owning Nottingham Forest, and it's probably quite clear to see why, from the outside looking in, it might not be a good one. And it's become a reputation that the entire club has now got, that we are just very hot-headed. So let's talk about the controversy of Evangelos Marinakis. In just the last few months, we have seen Evangelos Marinakis come onto the pitch after a 2-2 draw with Leicester, in which we had basically thrown away Champions League football. And he confronted Nuno in front of all the cameras and all the crowd. And that initially looks like he's having a go at him because of the results. It has since become clear that he was actually concerned about Taiwo Awoni's injury, which ended up being a very serious one. So it's not as bad as people were thinking, but it is still not a great look, and people on the outside looking in are just going to assume the worst. Another thing that he's done in recent months is he has written to UEFA, the European football governing body, to, well, basically snitch on Crystal Palace for the fact that they have previously had multi-club ownership links, and that's something you cannot have if you want to play in the same competition in Europe. Because we were in the Conference League and missed out on the Europa League, he basically thought it was a good idea to go to UEFA and say, hey, I'm Nottingham Forest owner, and obviously we came 7th in the Premier League, we got Conference League. If you could just promote us up to the Europa League, that would be great, because them lot of Crystal Palace, they're not right. And that's exactly what's ended up happening. Us and Crystal Palace have switched over in European competitions, and Steve Parish, the Crystal Palace owner, in the last week has said on the Rest Is Football podcast that Marinakis doing what he did is basically the reason why they ended up getting switched over. Now yes, multi-club ownership is a thing you're not allowed to have, even though I think it could be solved very easily if you just weren't, I don't know, not allowed to own more than one football club. But Crystal Palace don't actually have multi-club ownership links anymore. Steve Parish has always been the full owner of Crystal Palace, but John Textor had links in both at one point. And that's the reason why this has become a problem for them. So from the outside looking in, it's pretty sneaky and maybe really not a good look at all. From a Forest fan point of view, we're all very happy to get upgraded, but you can see why it's not a great look. And most recently, off the back of Tottenham's bid for Morgan Gibbs-White, we have seen us file a legal complaint against Tottenham over their approach. Now again, whether that is actually a fair thing to do or not, that's still not a shock to anybody that we've done that. Because of the reputation that we've built up because of Marinakis, we're hot-headed, we're erratic, and it works. Because, I mean, look where we are. We've gone from the Championship to relegation battles in the Premier League to European football. It has worked, but it's just a bit chaotic. If you go right back to the start when he bought the club in May 2017, he was having to deny allegations of being involved in drug trafficking and match fixing. This is literally in the report from The Guardian of when he bought the club. So from the very get-go, there's always been a bit of doubt about Marinakis and how squeaky clean he really is. I mean, we've got through 7 managers during his tenure, and only 2 of them have had a serious stint in Steve Cooper and, of course, currently Nuno. But one thing you cannot deny is his ambition. What he's done for the club is unbelievable. He has put in so much money and so much time and effort into getting the club where it is now. It is unrecognisable to where it was a few years ago, getting the training ground upgraded to a Category A training ground. The women's team is now to professional level. The youth team have won the Premier League International Cup in recent months. The new Peter Taylor stand, it may have been a very long, arduous process, but we are eventually going to get and see that happen. The City ground has had quite a serious revamp already. If you look at how it was before, it, at least aesthetically, does look a lot better. Just little things here and there that Marinakis has done and approved to happen, and it makes all the difference. And then, of course, getting us out the Championship after 23 years outside the Premier League, something we generally thought was never going to happen at one stage. He did that. His ownership, his investment. It wasn't just down to him, of course, it was down to Steve Cooper, it was down to the players, and now it's down to Nuno. But we don't really achieve any of this without Marinakis, without his backing. And that's why us Forest fans can never really see him in the same way as a neutral. We can clearly see that he's erratic and it does annoy us, really, but you can't deny his ambition and what he's done for the club. Especially when you consider that we used to be owned by a man that couldn't care less about Nottingham Forest. But then some might say, oh, well, you got promoted, but you signed about 100 players in the first transfer window. It wasn't 100 players, but it was 29 players in the first transfer window. Now, yes, we did need to sign a lot of players. We needed to sign probably half of that, which is still a lot, by the way. But 29 was crazy, if we're being honest. To the point where even the next season, we were then done for PSR. He was literally willing to break the rules in order to succeed. Now again, it's ended up paying off, and this is why I think we're happy with him as a Forest fan. Then you look at more isolated incidents. The whole situation with Gary Neville. He's made a few choice comments about Marinakis and Forest. He's called him a mafia boss. He slagged him off after that Leicester game where he came on the pitch and confronted Nuno. And again, from the outside looking in, he probably wasn't wrong. But him saying that got him banned for the last game of the season. The Liverpool game when we lost beyond the added time at home, he came on the pitch at the very end and stood very angrily on the touchline, basically just staring down Paul Tierney. Again, that's not something you typically see happen. That same season, we also had a pretty horrific game away at Fulham, and we seemingly are led to believe that he threw his match pass into a nearby bush in anger. Last season, he was even accused and banned for apparently spitting on an official. He's caved in multiple of his own TVs at the City Ground from frustration. And then, of course, probably the big one, that tweet. For a football club to post this, a professional football club to post this, is absolutely unprecedented. It's funny, really. It is very funny, and it's truthful. And it's actually really nice to see a club just saying the truth, that referees, well, are rubbish. But it's just not what you normally see happen. You don't normally see clubs be brave enough to talk like that. But Marinakis says what's on his mind, and that's a good thing, but it also can get you into trouble. And this is why people, from the outside looking in, probably aren't keen on him. You've seen how Spurs fans in the last week have took the complete mick out of us, and Marinakis specifically, because of how we've gone about the whole Gibbs-White deal, threatening legal action and everything like that. It's because of his reputation. But when you think about the millions of pounds that he's invested in the club and all the good that he's done, and even though all these things have maybe in the moment looked pretty stupid and childish, it's worked. Because look where we are now. We're about to play European football after 30 years. All of these antics have paid off. But what do you think, everybody, to Marinakis? If you're not a Forest fan watching this, I'll be curious to see what you say about it. If you are a Forest fan, I'm sure you'll be completely different to a neutral, but that's the whole point in this video, is it's just to get both perspectives. He's a hothead, but he's our hothead, and that's probably what I would say about Marinakis. So if you have enjoyed this video, everyone, please hit the like button, subscribe to Rads if you're new. Let me know if you want more stuff like this on the channel going forward. And up the Reds.